Now I would cordially invite Professor Dinesh Kumar, Professor of Economics, Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut, State University of Uttar Pradesh, and Director, Manevar Kashi Ram Sodh Vidyapeeth, Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut. Sir, you are the Honorary General Secretary of Indian Economic Association and Executive Editor of Uttar Pradesh Uttarakhand Economic Association. Sir, you have a teaching experience of over 20 years and the member of Executive Council and Academic Council at Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut. You are the Deputy Director, International Collaboration Cell, Chaudhry Charan Singh University. You are the Director, Manevar Kashi Ram Research Center. You have been the Vigilance Officer at Chaudhry Charan Singh University for more than 5 years. Convener, Research Degree Committee and Board of Studies, CCS University, Meerut, and Member of Board of Studies, HNB University, Uttarakhand, Mahatma Gandhi University, Motihari, Bihar, etc. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Agra. Sir, you are the member of many academic bodies at university level, and it gives me immense pleasure to tell you all that. Sir, you have visited India Study Center, Thammasat University, Bangkok for 21 days as International Fellow of ICSSR, New Delhi. You also visited United States of America for deliberation as chairperson of a technical session in an international conference. To your credentials, you have more than 20 research papers published in national reputed journals and 4 research papers in international reputed journals. Sir, you have delivered more than 40 invited lectures in Indian universities, research institutes, national seminars, and 25 invited lectures in international conferences. You have guided 6 PhDs, 41 MPhil students, and at present, the work of 6 doctoral students are in process. More than 50 short-term projects guided other than the department. 2 major projects sponsored by ICSSR, New Delhi, and Department of Science and Technology, New Delhi, have been completed and 1 is going on. You are the subject expert at Commission of Scientific and Technical Terminology, MHRD, New Delhi, Uttar Pradesh Higher Education, Allahabad, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, and Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar. It is our honor to host you, sir, at Chitkara University, and now I would like to please share your views on the session.
Thank you. And first of all, I should give my big thanks to Chitkara University and the team of this National Colloquium on approach to Union Budget 2023. Basically, this is a vibrant discussion, and after the discussion made by Professor Dr. Sunil Kumar from Reserve Bank of India, who has made a good platform discussing all the dimensions of the macroeconomic issues of Indian economy. Basically, I have been assigned the duty to discuss upon the issues related to expectations to budget 2023, especially in terms of industrial sector. Before going to my presentation, I would like to submit some concern about the issue deliberated by Sunil Kumarji. First of all, before going to my presentation, I would like to mention to all the audience that the growth accounting techniques, growth numbers shared by Sunil Kumarji, of course, it represents a number of multidimensional approaches from the point of view of Indian economy. But when we discuss the concept of budget, of course is having the economic aspect, but not only the economic aspect. It has social aspect also, as well as political aspect, and other number of aspects it has. Therefore, growth is one dimension and development is the another dimension. Therefore, we call it inclusive growth or sustainable development or sustainable growth. In that perspective, it should be clear that it is a political economy, and budget is a key instrument to discuss all the issues related to the country, not only economy. When I say it country, it means all the aspects have been included. I will be delivering some issues related to textile sector, some issues related to railway, defense sector because it's a part of the industry, as well as health, education and social welfare. The IMF projections has already discussed by Sunil ji, mentioned that global advanced economies as well as emerging economies in terms of 2021, 2022 as well as the projections of 2023. Sunil ji has mentioned about the issues related to unorganized sector, labor force participation, and has discussed with the help of some good numbers of data. But I would like to mention that in India, we are not having the authentic and quality data in the area of unorganized sector. We believe only with the data given by or the provided by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. But no official data, no data provided by the government. Therefore, the quality of researches in this area are not having some realistic picture as per the society is concerned. As far as gross value added is concerned, when we wish to calculate the gross value added, the accounting approaches or the depreciation part, it has a number of limitations. Therefore, the studies what we conduct are much far than the real aspects of the society. Sunil ji has mentioned that when we look into the Indian economy, especially macroeconomic part of the Indian economy, we observe that we have moved directly from primary sector to the services sector and skipped the industrial sector or the manufacturing sector. Basically, what we were planning, what is being happening, we tried a lot in the name of Made in India initially to emerge the economy as a manufacturing hub. But right now, the economy has established as an assembling hub, not manufacturing hub. Therefore, during the recent years, last 10, 12 years, in the name of Make in India, in the name of last 2-year terminology that we can say Atmanirbhar Bharat, efforts are on to make the industrial part as a manufacturing hub to the Indian economy. As far as the concept related to inflation, deficit and investment made by Sunil ji in terms of especially foreign direct investment, we all are very much aware that world is moving with a large amount of uncertainties, not only in terms of COVID but in terms of war, as well as oil also we can say. In this perspective, we should observe our expectations towards this coming budget 2023. Before going to that budget, we should observe where we were 1 year back. I think it was, you can say, 2022, 1st of February 2022. In that budget, because recalling is very essential, without recalling we cannot connect to the coming budget. In the previous budget, what we observe that the revised estimate of 2021-22 and the budget estimate of 2023, I am mentioning budget estimate, 22-23 budget, previous budget. Ministry-wise expenditure in that budget, in the area of consumer affairs, food and public distribution, it was 28.5% in minus. Likewise, I am mentioning again, in comparison to the revised budget of 21-22 to the budget estimate of 22-23, in case of rural development, it was negative 10.9%. In case of chemical and fertilizer, it was negative 24%. And the rest of the data is available on the screen. I would like to mention that we started, budget estimate is the starting point, then actually will be the final. The final estimate will be coming on the 1st of February 2023. Revised estimate of the 22-23 will be available on 1st of February 2023. Now with this data, we can observe, we started with these issues that in terms of road transport and highways, we were mentioning 51.8% higher. In terms of railways, we started with 16.9% higher. In terms of education, we started with 18.5% higher. But you can look at the screen that in terms of communication, we started with the 93.3% higher. It means what we started, it was really a picture which can have a number of dimensions. We cannot observe it is a good budget or it's a bad budget or it's a budget for general people or not. We cannot say in one line. It impacts from the each and every portion of the nature of the human being. In that way, last year when we observed that entering Amrit Kal, the 25 years long lead up to India at the age of 100, the previous budget provides imputes for growth along 4 priorities. Those 5 priorities were PM Gati Shakti, inclusive development, productivity, enhancement and investment, sunrise opportunities, energy transition and climate action. As well as last one is the financing of investment. When we observe this issue related to these 4 priorities, we are very much clear that the 7 engines that drive PM Gati Shakti, these 7 engines are roads, railways, airports, ports, mass transport, waterways and logistic infrastructure. Basically, there is a separate national master plan for PM Gati Shakti. The scope of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, it will encompass the 7 engines of economic transformation, seamless multi-modal connectivity and logistic efficiency. The projects pertaining to these 7 engines in the national infrastructure pipeline will be aligned with PM Gati Shakti framework. It was a plan last year. Then there was a road transport, national highway network to be expanded by 25,000 kilometers 2020-23 and 20,000 crores to be mobilized for national highway network expansion. Multimodal logistic parks were planned. Contracts to be awarded through PPP mode in 2022-23 for implementation of multimodal logistic park at 4 locations. Then one station, one product concept to help local business and supply chains, it was also planned in the previous budget, and 2,000 kilometers of railway network to be brought under Kavach, the indigenous world-class technology and capacity augmentation in the last year budget, that is the 22-23 budget. 400 new generations Vande Bharat trains to be manufactured during the next 3 years, as well as 100 PM Gati Shakti cargo terminals for multi-modal logistics to be developed during the next 3 years. It was a plan. In continuation, when we expect for the coming budget, that is the 23-24, this upcoming budget will be the last full year budget from the Modi government ahead of the Lok Sabha election due in early 2024. As far as expectations is concerned, on the basis of the news published in the recent newspapers, you can say Economic Times, Financial Finance, Times of India, as well as the live debates on TV as well as YouTube channels, we can say the key expectations from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is to maintain the growth path while keeping fiscal deficit and inflation in check, as has already been submitted by Sunilji. This upcoming budget needs to include two important provisions as far as my understanding is concerned. The first is tax incentives on capital expenditure or operational expenditure for expansion, capacity utilization and use of new age technology applications like Internet of Things, IoT, or you can say artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. So this tax incentives on capital expenditure that may be expanded, this one point. And the another is, second is a reduction in the interest for late payment of GST from the current rate of 18% to proposed 12%. Basically, this is an issue related to the all business players in the country. This suggestion has also been made by the ASSOCHAM, that is Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, recently. It will go a long way in making a level playing field. It's a general weakness what the businessman is feeling. Moving further, this budget should be the perfect platform to help India hit by the 5 trillion economy target by 2025. Among other things, there is a compelling case to make investment in securities more attractive by introducing a uniform tax rate of 10% for long-term capital gains and 15% for short-term capital gains. This is the demand by the investors, long-awaited demand, and I think in the interest of the economic development, I am not saying economic growth, economic development, the demand may be seriously looked into. From the point of view of the investors, we can say that investor can consider infrastructure as well as logistic companies as attractive opportunities ahead of the budget. Then we can say the railway sector is also expected to attract support from the budget, making it a good buy ahead of February 2023. In this perspective, when we observe the labor codes from the point of view of the labor laws, simplified mechanism to enforce new labor laws, because it has already been decided and discussed in the parliament, but due to a number of reasons, it has not been taken up by a number of state governments. The 4 labor codes, number 1 is the code on wages, second one is the code on industrial relation code, then social security code, and the last one is the occupational safety, health and working condition code. From these point of view, these codes are set to replace the existing 29 labor laws which are available right now. Over 90% of India's 50 crore workers are in unorganized sector, we know it very well, and through these codes the government will be able to ensure that all of them may enjoy the benefits of labor laws related to minimum wages and social security. And this is the critical issue, that even today minimum wages are not in the hand of the huge number of laborers working in India. Therefore, in that perspective, if it is enforced, and there is a high chance on the basis of the informations coming through newspapers that government may, or you can say finance minister may be thinking to enforce these new labor laws in this budget. Unfortunately, despite the approval of these codes, these labor laws codes by the Parliament in 2020, many of the state governments are yet to adopt the new labor codes. It means they have not been adopted. Enforcement is required. The union government needs to push the state government to implement these codes as soon as possible. Therefore, some simplified mechanism needs to be included in the budget. That simplified mechanism is required, and as a student of economics, I think that may be included, that should be included in this budget 23-24 for the adoption of these codes. When we observe these parts, especially related to health, defense, education, and social welfare sector, from these point of view, I will be briefly touching upon each aspect very briefly. Budget 23, or you can say 23-24, is expected to focus on health, defense, education, and social welfare sector. And in the last 5 years, the budget allocation for defense jumped by 46% due to a number of reasons. Not only uncertainties at international level, but also COVID-19 as well as indigenous base, along with Atmanirbhar Bharat. The budget allocation for defense jumped by 46%, while the allocation for social welfare rose more than 30%. The budget allocation to the health and education sector have also consistently increased during this period. As this Union Budget 23-24 will be presented in the backdrop of geopolitical uncertainties, high inflation, and slowing global growth, allocation to key sectors including health, defense, education, social welfare will be keenly watched, because it is a phase not only of uncertainties due to war, but the uncertainties is due to oil also, it is due to COVID also, and a number of other dimensions of uncertainties, and therefore the problems related to inflation, slowing global growth, and other issues have emerged. It is in this backdrop, social sector including health, defense, education, as well as social welfare part, that cannot be ignored, and I am quite hopeful that the coming budget will be the budget of health, defense, education, and social welfare. As well as I can sum it here that it is not only the political reason, but the reason of the economy to be strengthened at base. Therefore, these issues are, I think, may be taken up by the finance minister. When we observe defense, we are very much clear that defense and aerospace is an emerging industry in India. Following recent policy initiatives for increased private sector participation, this sector is looking forward to stop in the upcoming Union Budget 23-24 to kick-start big growth in the next financial year. Because it is a budget-to-budget accession, or you can say in terms of that it is an analysis from budget to budget. Now it is time to kick-start the big growth in terms of defense in the next financial year. India's defense budget allocation for 2023, it was 3,85,370 crores. Now, there is a demand. Demand in that sense, in the last 5 years, the budget allocation of the sector has jumped by 46%. Through enhanced budgetary support over the years, the government has placed modernization and infrastructure development of the armed forces at the center stage of the national security and defense planning process. Basically, these are the area where the coming budget 23-24 will be definitely, I think, definitely looking into and taking it as a part of the national security seriously. When we observe the education, the budget allocation on the education sector during the period 17-18 to 22-23, it reveals that the same by the year 21-22, it has consistently increased from 81,868 crores in 17-18 to 1,04,274 crores in the previous budget 22-23, which is 11.86% more than the same in the last budget. The education budget of 22 focused mainly on digital education, the creation of a digital university, job creation, agricultural university, skill development of program, etc. During this period, last year, 21-22, the allocation to education declined by 6,088 crores. It was down by 6.13% from the year 2021 allocation. Now, in this perspective, when the investment, or you can say the expenditure on education is going neck to neck, at that time, in terms of NEP, which has been enforced, implemented all over the country, this, I think, as a student of economics, again I am saying that I think this amount, this allocation in terms of education, it will be enhanced in this upcoming budget. These are my expectations. In terms of health, when we observe in the union budget 22-23, the government, last budget that is, the government allocated around rupees 86,000 crores to the healthcare sector. That was 62% increase in comparison to the what was spent in 2018-19. It is only typed here. The increase last year, especially, it was driven by the increased allocation of centrally sponsored public health schemes. That was the cause of COVID-19 also, to continue building sustainable healthcare infrastructure and ensure system preparedness to handle increasing healthcare needs of the country, because education and health go neck by neck. When it is an alarm made by COVID-19 that health is at stake, government cannot, I think, government should not ignore that when health is at stake, at the same time education should also be not at stake. In budget 23, coming budget, some contingencies measures mainly covering health may be seen in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases in China. It seems that some amount will be increased here. The forthcoming budget is expected to focus on health infrastructure, research and development, and healthcare education and training. From this perspective, it may be simplified that this industry that is in the name of health education needs to be taken care through the budgetary provisions made by the coming budget. When we observe the social welfare part, allocation to social welfare, it has grown over the years as Modi government has introduced several social welfare schemes in the recent past. From 17-18 to 22-23, the allocation to social welfare jumped more than 30%, while in the upcoming budget, Finance Minister may focus on the fiscal consolidation. A reduction in allocation to this sector is less likely. I am hinting here that in the name of fiscal consolidation, the amount may not be increased here, the budget allocation may not be increased here, or maybe increased here slightly. The pandemic has severely affected government finances, pushing the fiscal deficit for 2021 to a record of 9.3% of GDP, significantly higher than the budgeted 3.5%. That will likely limit the government's ability to provide relief to households and businesses facing an uneven recovery from the pandemic. However, since the budget 23 presentations coincides with assembly election in Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, a number of experts believe that it may discourage the government from making deep cuts to social welfare. Now, in the name of fiscal consolidation, even in this condition, I think this part of social welfare will not be ignored by the finance minister. When we observe some expectations from the point of view of the textile industry, it is very clear that according to industry sources, various trade organizations including the Confederation of Indian Textile Industry, that is CITI, it has submitted suggestions and recommendations to the Ministry of Finance. And these bodies have suggested a scheme for promoting traceability and sustainability in textile value chain. It is a new concept basically. And this concept is that traceability and sustainability have become critical for exporting textile and apparel product to Western market such as the UK, the European Union and the US. Since both of these terms are new concepts and limited technologies are available, the industry is seeking especially textile industry, it is seeking an incentivization scheme for both producers and exporters who met the requirement of traceability of the inputs used, especially cotton, and sustainability. It uses technologies that require lower consumption of water and technology, lower discharge of hazardous chemicals, and ensure at least 20% of the recyclability of material used. Basically, this concept was well needed, and it is quite possible that in the coming budget it can be expected that government will taking care of this issue. The government may provide funds for promoting research and development on new technologies and a subsidy for users to implement these technologies. Industry bodies have also suggested privatization of National Textile Fund. It's another issue which is mooted by the Ministry of Textile with an aim to fund investment in technology upgradation and infrastructure development of the textile and clothing industry. There is also a strong demand for raising allocation of funds of Rs 7,700 crore of disbursement under the TUFS subsidy. So basically, textile industry was at stake, and in the previous budget also it was mentioned that some specific significant amount of employment will be emerged in this sector, but the situation is not that good. After full year of costlier cotton, the industry made a pitch for the support of tackle price fluctuation in the natural fiber, so the government may allocate adequate fund for achieving international status for Indian cotton. The government may also consider a cotton price stabilization fund scheme, which may consist of 5% interest subventions, 5% in just in hypothetical, reduction of margin money from 25% to 5%, and increase of credit limit from 3 months to 9 months. That may facilitate the small businesses or business players in the industry. It would boost exports and enable 2-3% additional growth in the industry. This industry is also urging the government to take steps for increasing production and productivity along with quality. Basically, textile industry has been the backbone of the Indian economy, and since long. Now, it demands a lot. The government may allocate adequate funds towards the same and may appropriately implement a mission mode approach. It will be beneficial for industry and farmers as well. When we observe some expectations from the point of view of the railways, according to Vinit Bollinger, head of research Venture Securities, with the increasing demand for railway logistics to transport goods, Indian Railways has been spending more on dedicated freight corridors and will upgrade the logistic infrastructure in the coming years. At present, around 75% of the revenue for railways come from freight. Also, during the current financial year, the importance of efficient freight transportation has increased due to the rising crude prices, because it's a connecting issue When the crude prices are rising, there is the issue of diesel, then it increases, which has affected the goods transportation cost and thereby inflation in the same way. According to experts, the government budget allocation in the railway sector, it may be or should be ranged from 1.6 lakh crore to 2 lakh crore in the coming budget. As far as the practical aspect of budget is concerned, we all know this type of techniques, this type of traditions depends on data dependent. These are the data dependent. And as I have already mentioned in the starting of my deliberation, that the quality of data is not as much authentic because of a number of reasons. Therefore, the output or the results are quite having the gaps from the reality. In this interest rate trajectory in USA, this is the condition in which the budget has to be prepared. Likewise, target for RBI is 4% in terms of inflation, but first in band it should be there and then to be controlled. In this circumstances, we can observe that one more hike seems possible in terms of inflation. Subject to what happens to the world, what happens to the oil etc., it means in this point of uncertainties, the budget has to be prepared. When we observe some practical aspect, the macros of, or you can say macroeconomic indicators of the economy, they are quite good, as has already been indicated by Sunilji. Availability of funds, brands, better balance sheets, it's good. The issue is capacity utilization and global uncertainty. In this situation, the Russia-Ukraine war, China plus one strategy, there is one term which is touching almost all the newspapers nowadays, that is resilient supply chain. During these issues in the manufacturing world, it creates huge opportunities for India, including in defense. But there are pockets of opportunities where things are happening in much faster speed as railway is going on a tremendous modernization. Of course, defense is on the way, but railway is, as far as my knowledge is concerned, railway is going much faster. Some day back, the tender for 1600 locomotives of 9,000 horsepower worth rupees 20,000 crores, it is all supposed to be produced in India and by India. 200 Vande Bharat train and 100 high-speed train to create industrialization on railway manufacturing system, which was having the different shape in the last century. Now it seems to change in the completely modernized, or you can say modernization phenomenon. With this sense, what America, US did in 50 years, it seems that India will be achieving that growth in some industrial part, especially in terms of the 10 to 15 years. It will create huge manufacturing ecosystem, especially in the area of electrical equipments. That is a part of the industry. When a keen focus on modernization, the Indian Railway has taken various steps towards the introduction of new technology for upgradation rolling stocks, tracks and bridges, among others. The same thing is happening in defense also. Everything is focused on Make in India, or we can say Atmanirbhar Bharat. When we say Atmanirbhar Bharat here means something that you produce with your own intellectual property. That is indigenous base. Now, the country is moving with the large industrial capacity or capability. India may have a game-changing situation in defense and railway with new technology, because it is not the defense, it is not the railway only. It touches each and every human being in the country. How to shape things over the period, it is a challenge, and domestic markets and global environment have to react in the same way, it's a challenge. To defense industry, the government is to indigenize the policy and action. Now, with this note that there are a number of challenges in front of development, but growth is there. It means with that note what made by Sunilji in the early deliberation, that from primary sector we just jumped toward the services sector. Every effort is being taken that manufacturing sector, or we can say industrial sector, may be taken up that speed in the name of modernization, so that global speed may be covered with the domestic speed. Now with this note, we can have another view that these issues related to budget expectations are very critical. What I submit here in my deliberation, these are on the basis of my own understanding, level of understanding, and from the I tried my best from the point of view of investors, from the point of view of businessmen, from the point of view of social persons, from the point of view of general human being, what can be expected. And we know it that the budget is limited. The limited budget has to be allocated in the number of sectors. When one sector is being moving further, then other sector has to be cut down. Therefore, expectations are there, and expectations are never 100% fulfilled. We know it very well. But with this note that the government will take the issues related to health, education, social welfare, as well as, because railway and defense, they are on the speed. But national security as being at the top, the coming budget, 23-24 budget, I think its budget will be the budget of the human being. Thank you. It was from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your expert views on the what actually has undertaken in the Indian economy about the industry and MSMEs. Now there are certain questions which have come to us. I want to put forward. There are two questions I will put along with you, sir. First is, amid the whispers of economic slowdowns and recession, hiring of contract workers will be on rise in coming months, as most businesses want to avoid high fixed costs. Contract hiring emerges as a viable option. Will that be fruitful employment for the youth of the country? And so second question is, several influential CEOs of tech companies have said that they expect a reasonable workforce from lower cost base markets like India, which in turn will boost the domestic job market and trained skilled manpowers in the nations and cost reduction for companies. Are the budget actions also in line with the creating more skilled workforce?
Okay, thank you for the questions, and I think both the questions are very well connected. When we discuss the issues related to contract labor and the second questions related to the corporate sector, I think there is a wide gap between the corporate and universities. What universities are producing and what corporate is requiring, there is a huge gap. Corporate requires that person should work for 5%, one person should work for 5% at least. And university provides the opposite, I should not say here. Therefore, my submission, not to say the solution, because contract labor or the contract type of employment is a need of the hour, not only in case of India, but across the world. Because it's an issue related to the, by what we divide by the population. whatever we will be achieving, that has to be divided by the denominators. It's a problem related to denominator, because when we observe the rate of growth in terms of UK, Russia or Japan or other countries, and when we divide that rate of growth with the denominator of that country, with the population of that country, it means the handsome amount of growth comes in the area of each and every human being. In case of India, the situation is not the same. Now the nature of employment is being changed. We all will be observing in the coming days, maybe some years, that the very basic objective of education, I am hinting here that the degree of any, you can say the degree of UG or PG or any other courses, that has to be de-linked with the employment. Right now, what we are observing, there is a very well link between the degree and employment, what we observe, what we feel as a traditional part. What I am observing, that these degrees and employment will be or should be de-linked. What corporate sector, what business persons require, they do not require degrees basically. They require skills, they require expertise. From that purpose, because it is the time when we have to achieve growth as well as sustainable growth. We cannot say only growth is sufficient enough. Growth must be sustainable. It means someone has to pay the cost. Without paying the cost, nothing can be achieved, nothing can be observed. Now, time will come that as a part of policy, it will be, I'm looking that it will be implemented, that contact labor, not only in terms of teaching or non-teaching or small jobs, but in big jobs also, the term should be defined. We cannot say that now the job security or social security may be handled by the government. Initially, 2-3 days back, Monting Singh Ahluwalia has also commented on this. In terms of Himachal Pradesh, I am not pointing out the same statement, but I am hinting that he has also mentioned that pension scheme or the job security may not be sustained over a period of time. Now it is the issue that a person, he or she may be, if he or she may be is not having the skill, not having the we can say technological skill as per the requirement, it will be difficult to survive in the market of especially job market. As far as corporate sector is concerned, second question is concerned, answer is almost same. I think I have covered both the questions. Thank you. It's from my side. Thanks to all, and special thanks to Chitkara University for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dinesh sir, for sharing his ideas and expert views about the topic.